We are here for Monday action. We got a pretty full NBA slate with no shortage, no shortage of value locks, and no shortage of news, and no shortage of anything. No more Monday Night Football. So we are fully committed to the NBA tonight. What's up, Bobby?
What's up, man?
Uh, Welcome everybody here, and let's see if we can't figure out what to do. I guess I'll just cut right to it. I mean, how much what percent right now on DraftKings do you have of both Andre Drummond and Isaiah Jackson?
94% Drummond. And it's literally I had to figure out a way to justify trying to fade him. And about 80% of Jackson.
Yep. I am I am pretty much the same. The making Isaiah Jackson power forward eligible as well certainly makes it just more gettable across the board. And these guys are just kind of tough to fade. So you can either, try to get different elsewhere or not play, seeing as we're here anyway, may as well try to get different and figure out how to play. What do you like? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I have my priority list. I've spent a lot of time today going through all this stuff, and then of course, only to have the speculation news, and we'll probably hear Trae Young is out or something that is going to change everything because he's questionable. So priorities are Drummond and Jackson above everybody else. Then I would try to prioritize getting in at least one or two Heat. As many as three are okay, but I would probably run back Jaylen Brown. You're gonna find yourself overspending for maybe what you think the guy's talent levels are, just because it's too easy to do, and you're gonna have too much left on the table. And you need the raw points to mix with all this value. So I would say Bam is my favorite. Hero is my second favorite on both sides actually. But I like both of them. But Bam that forces you into a very specific build because a lot of people are gonna have Bam and Drummond. So that's tricky. The Isaiah Jackson thing's a little tricky because I really like Kuminga today, especially if we get word that he's starting against Houston with Porter and Bjelica out. I think that could be a really, really, really strong play to play with those guys. But the problem is then you are in a very, very similar build, and I would suggest you probably leave money on the table, a little bit, 400 or 500. That doesn't need to be a ton. Guys you should not be playing. I don't think you can use a center spot on Serge Ibaka today, even with that, starting at 3K. I understand it. Go ahead if you really feel like it. It's not what I'm going to do. I would rather play Hartenstein if I was going to pick one of them, but I'm not going to play either of them, I don't believe. Because of the position eligibility. If Ibaka was somewhere else, I would definitely take some looks. The other next priorities would be to try to get in a lot of Josh Giddey on both sites. Dort more on FanDuel. Kenrich is not so much a play anymore. Neither is Man for me as much anymore either. But one of those two guys, or both of them on FanDuel especially. Seth Curry, Harris, Maxey to go with Drummond. I think you can play two or three of those guys if you're going to run back Ja, which I'm doing. My priorities would be Curry, Maxey, Harris, and I really think those three are all really close. So I think you could do it any way you want with those three. One of LeVert or Duarte, I think, are really good plays on both sites. LeVert more on FanDuel, Duarte more on DraftKings. And then one of McCollum, Simons, Nurk, or Powell, which I think is what people are going to sort of come away from. I think all of those guys make a lot of sense. I think McCollum is my favorite. Powell's price sort of fits in with some of the lineups I was building, and he's got the small forward eligibility, and that's helpful. And then Siakam or Fred VanVleet, and I don't mind if you want to pick any other Raptor. That's the priorities. And then really quickly, just the other guys who I'm mixing in. Kuminga, Lance Stevenson. These are long shot plays, some of them. Isaiah Jackson's no longer a long shot. Reggie Jackson, Darius Baisley, Amir Coffey, Chetty Osman, D'Anthony Melton, Julius Randle is the spend up of these guys I've got listed. And on FanDuel, Dort, Giddey, Garland, Mobley, Curry, assuming that Garland does in fact play. And the Aaron Fox got ruled out.
So let me just catch people up. So the reason why Bobby was talking about all these Heat was that Lowry and Butler were ruled out. So all these Heat are showing up. The one guy that you
And
didn't.
PJ Tucker, who plays 35 minutes a game.
What?
And PJ Tucker, who plays 35 minutes a game.
Okay, I got one other for you. Who's right in my top Miami guy, and as I go through them, it's worth mentioning
Caleb
that
Martin.
that I'm talking that I'm going to fire off a couple of value plays to you across the board. And
Yep.
what to say to get your kind of take. You already mentioned Drummond and Isaiah Jackson. You kind of touched on Isaiah Hartenstein, and the next guy I have listed is Caleb Martin. What do you think of him in general tonight?
I mean, you got to spend money some places, so I don't know what value he brings in that sense. I do have him in a couple lineups, but it doesn't. It's almost just like, what am I really doing? I'd rather place. I mean, he's fine. He could put up that 10x game, you know. So is Struss, so is Duncan Robinson, and so is Gabe Vincent. I would prefer the other guys all ahead of Martin because he'll be the first one to come out when Hero comes in off the bench, and he may close. But if Struss or Vincent are hot, they're going to be more likely to.
You already mentioned. You already mentioned, touched on Trey Mann and Kendrick Williams.
Yeah.
And I guess Ty Jerome kind of falls in that group. You already talked about Kuminga. I think you talked about Kuminga a little bit. You touched on Strus and Seth Curry. You mentioned Gabe Vincent, Duarte, Yang a little. One guy that I just kind of glossed over in the early runs, which still showing up a little bit. And again, it's not whatever, but I figured I'd just ask you, do you have any opinion on Me Too at 3,700?
I mean, it just feels like a weird slate to do that. You know, bad matchup, minutes in flux, not a high producing guy. And we have two other power forwards who are significantly better plays, regardless of what actually happens tonight. They're just much, much better plays. Will it be reflected in the ownership? Probably a little bit. So I think that there's some edge there, maybe if you want to do that. But I don't know how you can play all three of those power forwards together and then even spend enough money. And if you are, why are we doing it? And with Me Too, let's even make sure he's starting before we do anything. I do think without Fox, it actually does get, at least there's some more usage to go around for the whole team. Guys like Buddy Hield, Davion Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton are all interesting. I'm just not getting to them. There's just too many plays.
So I have one other play, only because he's showing up in one of my bigger buy-ins, just literally for no reason, and only because you play him from time to time. You probably a lot more than I do. You like any Eric Gordon tonight?
No.
Okay. All right. So now what I want to turn to next is kind of the idea of kind of correlation on tonight's slate. Mm-hmm. So we brought up a couple of plays, and first thing that you talked about was you're playing the Philly guys and using Morant as a run back. On the Toronto-Atlanta thing, like if Trey plays, I'm still kind of interested in doing a Trey Van Vliet thing. Mm-hmm. And then I still can't get away from this Giddey McCollum thing in the Oklahoma City Portland. And I really would like to. I don't want to say I'd like to. If I played Nurkic, the way that the slate is kind of like shaking out, it's probably going to end up being somewhat low owned, right? Because Drummond's taking the center spot.
Yeah, I wouldn't even believe the ownership projections on him. I would bet that he's really low owned.
Yeah, I figured, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what I can do.
Darius Garland's out. Shit.
Darius Garland is now out?
Yeah, Osman's starting. So Osman is going to be factored in too to all of this. Oh, man, these slates. All right, so let's wait for the projections before we get to that one. But I do think Cedi Osman, I had him on my list anyway. So that was if he was out, and I do think he's viable. He can put up that 40 kind of fantasy point game. So I'd prefer even taking the worst play on Osman than probably Martin in terms of sure minutes.
Well, hang on a second before we go on Cedi Osman. Isn't like we're gonna get isn't Rajon Rondo?
Yeah,
like the idea.
Yeah, but if they say they're starting Osman, what are they gonna do? I'm trying to figure it out here. They're starting Osman, then they're basically using Cedi as the point guard. So I would have Rondo. Wow. I mean, obviously a good play, but because of the position eligibility, I would have him. I mean, look, you got to spend money some places, and I don't know. It's hard. It's interesting. I'm curious what the projection systems think about him not starting, because
they announced the starters for Cleveland.
they announced Chetty starting for what's his name for Garland, which means that Rondo won't start.
Okay.
Unless they change the rest of their lineup, which they could do, but they may not. And I still think he's a really viable play. But do you need that extra value there? And is he really anywhere near the play that Jackson or Drummond or even Kuminga are? I don't think so. But I do think he's relevant, and I think that him not starting might keep the ownership low enough to where that is probably a clever play.
And it's not in New Orleans, but Rondo is against one of his former teams. Gotta be worth a little tiny bit, I guess.
He was in New Orleans for a minute. That's right. Yeah. I don't think he was there very long, was he?
I don't remember.
But like Chetty, I mean, you could just look back a couple games. I mean, he had the 38 fantasy point game with 24% usage. His usage is usually in the 20s for a guy who's 4,200. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Forward eligibility, again, small forward, which is what you want because you have the great power forward options. Davion Mitchell is starting, and Metu is not starting.
Okay.
Which is, if he has a game, great, but I'm just crossing him off.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
So let me just for case take a look at this Isaiah Jackson business here. So he seems to be a pretty high points per
phenomenal point per minute
producer here.
For what it's worth, I don't buy the projection. I don't think he should be medianed out to 30 minutes tonight. I think it should probably be like 24, 26. But still, I think he's a great play.
And that's still probably going to give him 27 fantasy points, even if he does 24 minutes.
Exactly. And maybe more. And by the way, and there's upside on those minutes too. And he also has upside as well. So I actually think the projection for minutes are a little bit off, and the projection for fantasy points from what I'm looking at are a little low.
Yeah.
But I think that's where you start your lineups are Jackson and Drummond, and then you get into the community conversation. You're going to mix in some Caleb Martin and the other Struss and all those guys. The guy who will be left out for Miami, and I always point out that he doesn't necessarily pick up this incredible usage without Butler that everybody thinks, but without Butler, Lowry, and the minutes going to that always go to Tucker, there is a chance Duncan Robinson ends up playing a bunch of minutes tonight, which is just interesting because we have these other values and they're great shooters. Max Struss is a great shooter. Gabe Vincent's a great shooter. But Duncan Robinson is the original great shooter of this bunch, and any one of those three guys could go out there and make 8 threes. In fact, I think all of them have done it this year, probably multiple times in some of those cases. So one of those guys would be where I would be looking towards, along with Osman as my other filler piece,
Right.
And there's the downside for all of them, just for the same reason why there's the upside. But the odds of all of them missing doesn't seem all that likely to me. I'm curious what the projections do with Osman and Rondo.
Yeah, I'm waiting on that myself.
It feels funny because they have other guys they can use. Like they can play Lamar Stevens. Brandon Goodwin can get some minutes. Kevin Pangos has started in the past for them and played 28 minutes at times. They can play other guys, so they might just keep Rondo in his familiar role if he's with him not starting. But at the same time, if he plays well and they're struggling to start the game out against a bad defense, Rondo might go nuts here. In 24 minutes, he could put up 35 fantasy points. Like that's very much on the table. But they're not going to run the offense entirely through Rondo. They're going to run it through Mobley. They're going to run it through Kevin Love when he's in the game. They're going to run it to some extent through Osman. What's appealing is that you do have really low usage guys offensively in Jared Allen, Dean Wade, and Okoro. So whoever else is playing for Cleveland gets a big bump with Garland out. And then
how about Mobley?
Yeah, I like him on FanDuel more than DraftKings. But again, the price doesn't matter as much, and partly why you play him. I mean, New Orleans is sloppy; they run and they all that stuff. So I actually think that if you're going to fade Drummond today, I know Mobley's power forward eligible. But it did make me think, if you're going to fade Drummond, maybe getting like a Mobley with Joe Val on FanDuel or something like that, or maybe playing Joe Val and Nurkic or Joe Val and Bam are the only ways I can see. But the thing is, it's like Drummond has the same upside they do. Like, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, we're paying $5,000 more for a guy or $4,500 more, just because they're 4,500 more. and because they're going to be lower owned,
I'm
which
not.
is
I'm
really
not.
weird.
I'm not fading him.
Yeah. If you're going to do it, though, I think that's the only, to me, the viable route is to double spend up at center.
Yes.
This is a good question from Brian, who's asking me exactly what I led the show with. Like, what is the take on Isaiah Jackson versus Kuminga? I think that Kuminga is going to be really high owned as well if he's starting. So I don't think you're getting enough leverage by just playing him over. Now I'm going to mix in a little bit of Kuminga instead of Jackson, but I'm playing them together a good number of lineups. More news coming in. Nothing relevant. Schroeder's in. And the guy who had no interest in all playing on this slate in any way was Steph Curry. Now I have plenty of Steph Curry because it's just too easy to afford him.
Yeah.
He does have the, technically the highest ceiling of anybody on the slate. So it's an interesting way to go today. It's going to be a lot of, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't just do this, or I can't just do this. There's so many different good options in the low mid tier, but we don't have like if this is a slate, if Jokic was playing, he would be like 80% owned as in the utility spot. Like maybe not that high, but he'd be very high owned.
Because you could afford, because you need to spend money. Sort of.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be like the chalky build would be that kind of a thing. But instead, it's turning into Steph, which is nowhere near the quality of Jokic. Like, I mean, Steph may get outplayed. So I'm mixing in overspending on the Jaylen Browns, on Jason Tatum on FanDuel. You know what I mean? On that type of stuff, because I actually don't see them as being very different from Steph, and especially in this matchup, which I do think. I do expect Golden State to control Houston. And I don't think they need Steph to turn into Steph, especially with Clay there. Wiggins is there. You still got Poole off the bat. That's the thing about Kuminga is like there's a lot of guys who could take things away from Kuminga. There's very little. I mean, not that the Pacers don't need to. You don't need to play big against the Clippers. I guess that could be the answer. Is maybe they end up going small and like using like Torrey Craig or something at the 5, but they have like no size. So I mean, they could, but you could do that. You can get away with putting those guys on Ibaka or on Hartenstein. So that's the way Jackson feels tonight. But I think Jackson's a better play than Kuminga, but I really like Kuminga as well. And I am going to go at 3:30 or 6:30 so I can do my lineups. But I'm happy to answer any questions and keep going over whatever for the next 7 or 12 minutes.
Yeah, that's fair.
And by the way, like it is worth noting that because of all of this, like I'll take back, I think Drummond ends up like 92% now in the big one, because I think people will try to get creative with that spot. And I think there's viable reasons because you could play Jackson and Kuminga and then pay up at center, play Bam and either Nurk or Valanciunas is a really good play. So play those two guys. Maybe that's another route you could go with. And I think it's a legitimate build. It's really hard to just fade Drummond, but all this other stuff has given us enough of a reason, because it just would differentiate your build. So I'm going to actually do that in a tournament. I'm going to make a note that I'm going to make sure to skip Drummond at least in one lineup.
Wow, that's pretty ballsy.
It's hoping he gets 30 and then my centers get me 50.
Yeah.
And Jackson and Kuminga give me 30 each.
Who's the guy that's just got ruled? Oh, Garland, right?
It's not going to be in one of my $500 plus lineups. It'll be in like my $100 or $200 lineup.
Is still not getting all of the. Yeah, getting some of the Cleveland.
Yeah, what's popping? Let's see. I'm going to take a look at what it's saying for Rondo here.
Not so much.
If Rondo was 24 years old, I would say you don't care if he's starting or not. You know what I mean? But yeah. I mean, still look. I'm looking at a 21 fantasy point projection for him.
Yeah, I got like 21 also,
which is really good for a guy who's 3K. But look at, I mean, the guys you want to spend on are Ja Morant or Steph Curry. I still love these Philly guys, by the way, too. All the other Philly guys. Yeah, it's kind of hard to know what to do with this, because
it's an early game. Well, they're all kind of early.
Yeah, I like the idea though of spending in the 7, 8K, 9Ks, and maybe just trying not to go all the way up, because I do think that these players all have like the same ceilings. I mean, Curry's obviously is higher, but realistically, these other guys actually hit it more often. Like Tatum and Brown both smashed. You know,
Who, Jaylen Brown?
Jaylen Brown and Tatum more often than they hit their crushing number. They hit 50 plus for them, which for Steph would have to be 65 at his price. Although the price doesn't matter as much, it's not like he's so much safer to score 40 fantasy points than they are. I really don't think he is. Right. And that Miami matchup, without PJ Tucker, Lowry, and Butler, three of the best players in basketball at their position defensively, this is not the same team. Although Bam does help and make them, better. I mean, everybody else is like a subpar defender, basically, with the exception of Caleb Martin. I guess you could call him a good defender.
All right, I'm going to be able to update the projection in about 2 minutes here. Almost, not quite.
Guys, fire on in anything that you think. Yeah, that's the Sam says he saw you on Sunday. Good to see Dunbar and our usual folks. He said that you've just been crushing lately. The Fox being out thing, I feel like, is something that's kind of weird that we're not really like affected by that. It's a big usage guy. I do think Halliburton's really viable, even at 8,500.
Okay.
But I just realistically, do I think I'm going to play him? Probably not. Because I don't think he has to get there. I just think he could. But if he's, I think people will start to play him. But like on FanDuel, I think he's going to be chalk. I think he'll be like 50% owned, Halliburton. I don't think he's going to be nearly as owned on draft. Well, maybe he will. I think people are going to react to it, so they're going to play him. So I'm not gaining enough by playing him. And you know what? Even if he puts up 50, it's not like the end of the world for me.
Right.
Because I think Van Vliet's going to put up 50 too. And that's the thing that everybody's going to do. Now they're all going to come off of Van Vliet. I would encourage people to stick with a good amount of Van Vliet. But I am going to make sure I get a little bit of exposure, which I'm going to do at this very moment, to Mr. Halliburton.
Let me just do a quick Yahoo build and give you guys a couple of Yahoo takes for those of you that play over there. All right. Yeah, interestingly, the highest owned guy I have on Yahoo is Steph Curry, which makes sense actually.
Yeah, I don't know the price over there, but I mean, even on FanDuel, he's like that too. He's like 90, 95, 300.
Yeah, and Tyrese Halliburton is. Let's get over there. Let's see.
Halliburton.
The Yahoos.
It's so dumb that Halliburton is only shooting guard eligible. He's playing point guard. Like, I mean,
yeah,
kind of silly. I do think Reggie Jackson is a good long shot tournament play, and it shouldn't be like he's 5,300. There's other sites he would be like the cash game play.
Yeah,
you're just not going to fit him in.
Is this FanDuel or DraftKings?
This is DraftKings. Jackson, Halliburton.
Change update my FanDuel now with the Chetty thing. See what I get over there.
I don't think Chetty's like a must play by any means. I just was throwing it out there as that I think he's got a high enough upside where I would take. So I'm gonna have to decide. Like I've got Struss I've actually got like a little Celtics game stack. I think instead of playing Struss, I might play Chetty.
Okay.
So that's what I've got in one of my very big buy-ins. Which is kind of a shame because I like Struss. I like that whole backcourt situation. But I think that I'm already playing two Boston guys in the lineup. So I mean, my two Miami guys in the lineup, so I can make an easy switch over to Osman and at least give myself the chance to get there with all those guys rather than relying on Struss hitting a bunch of threes. Because if he does, that'll take away from Hero and Bam.
Right. me see what I got on FanDuel now.
I did not think I was going to end up with like 40% Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, my highest owned guy on FanDuel now is the aforementioned Halliburton.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen with everybody, I think.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I like that I'm playing Fred VanVleet over him, to be honest with you, on DraftKings. And I am going to squeeze him into one of my big ones on FanDuel. But I like the other guys too. I mean, the thing is that's going to McCollum, who I really like today, I'm ending up with like almost none of because of all this stuff. Because
Yeah,
well,
that's important though. You know, it's
yeah. Hart, Jones, Hayes. Huh. Where do you stand with Jackson on FanDuel?
Isaiah Jackson?
Yeah.
Let me just see.
And before you guys forget, in one of your long shot tournaments, throw in a Lance lineup. This is absolutely the kind of situation he could go nuts in.
I got like 25% Jackson on FanDuel.
25% Jackson?
Yeah.
What percentage of Giddy do you have on FanDuel? I have 100%.
I have only 54.
Interesting. Okay. It's a strong position.
Yeah. I got what do I have too much of there? I don't know. Is 44% Bam too much?
No, I have a lot of Bam over there
I got
too.
I got 45% Chetty over there.
Yeah.
Steph Curry. I don't know.
What's Chetty's price?
Who, Chetty, 38?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
37?
Interesting.
I only have 56% Drummond, if that means anything.
Wow.
On FanDuel.
I know. All right, guys. Any questions before I end up jumping to my thing? Let's see.
No, we don't like me too. That's the story.
I'm not saying to avoid Halliburton at all. No. I hope that's not what was intended. I just am saying that he's not like a must play by any means on DraftKings for sure. I think he's a very good play on FanDuel, but I don't think he's an absolutely one.
What about LeVert on DraftKings?
Yeah, I have him on FanDuel more, but I like that idea. He doesn't have the forward eligibility, to be honest. That's what drives me nuts, and that's what I keep looking for because I've got my guards pretty well figured out. Timothy says he likes that I'm on the Boston game. It's just because it's just a correlation thing. So if I'm going to play these guys, why not get it in some sort of a game stack, and you hope that your game is the one that's close down the stretch. I really like Duarte also, and no one's really talking. I mean, he's going to get ownership, but like not maybe to where he could have been. I don't think people are going to play as much Seth Curry as we originally thought. Those are other guys that I'm prioritizing. I actually am starting to feel like Harris is probably a worse play than with all this other stuff going on.
Yeah,
he's fine, but I just think like he and LeVert straight up is an interesting conversation. Like,
I like LeVert tonight.
Me too. Just he gets in foul trouble, and that's when Lance comes in and goes nuts.
That's it. And this Lance at home, right? We like that.
Mm-hmm. We get Lance at home. It's a good little spot.
All right. So my highest owned guy on DraftKings is Andre Drummond. My second highest owned guy on DraftKings is Isaiah Jackson, and he's 95%. So let me see the next one though. I got the next highest owned guy I have on DraftKings after those two is 55% Bam. And then after that, 40% both Giddy and Halliburton. Then they got McCollum. I do have 25% both Currys, actually. Oh, here's something that I'm overweight on. Wow, this is actually pretty heavy overweight, I think. I got 35% Norman Powell.
Yeah, I have a lot more of him than I thought I was going to have too.
Okay.
I don't know why the builds are working out like that.
You know what else
But
I
I
got? I know why it's working out that way. It's the same position. I'm also getting 32% Andrew Wiggins at that small forward position.
But I actually have him as a guard in one of my spots, but I don't think I need to play Giddy there anymore. So I'm actually going to fix that one and probably put Halliburton in there instead. Halliburton.
How much Cucamonga do you got? I got 18% on DraftKings.
25.
Okay.
But I want him to be starting before I do anything. He's not starting. But I still think he's in play. I just don't think I think now you get him at really low ownership. So now that pivot does make a little more sense that was brought up before. And it's funny because Randall projects better than like Jaylen Brown does. But I'm looking at it and like, I mean,
Randall.
He never gets there. Ever.
He never does anything. Like,
so I'm leaving the 200 on the table and playing Jaylen Brown. Of course, it's a great matchup for Randall. It's probably the night he goes off for 60, but that's just what I'm doing. And if you were going to do what I'm doing, if people are doing what I suggest and playing Halliburton and Van Vliet, try to play those guys together. It's going to be an unusual build that people are going to put both those guys at 8,500, especially because of the shooting guard spot. So I think that's kind of an interesting, way to go about it.
I'm going to fire off one more. Hopefully I can do it. Yes. Hold on. Oh, excellent.
Buddy Hield is a great long shot tournament play, guys. Very long
shot. Now that's something. That
you can mix around with, yeah.
I'm going to update the projections on the site just so that they're up here. And then I'm going to start thinking about heading out also.
Who's your best play around 5,500 on DraftKings?
Hang on, I got to finish this.
Everything. It's a weird price range too. Just keep ending up there.
What Norman Powell is more expensive than that, right?
Yeah. I think that it's probably Curry. I mean, in addition to Curry, it's probably Curry and Duarte's a little cheaper at 5K, and then I probably would go Reggie Jackson, who's feels very thin, but I think that there's
what's Rashad Holmes?
Oh, okay, that's one. He's like 5K.
It's a tough position to play him, but I mean.
Yeah, but I do have a utility spot where I'm trying to figure out this in one of my builds, so it's actually kind of interesting to me to think about him. Not a good matchup, but definitely better than a 5K player when he starts. Holiday, Craig, Jackson. So Jackson is officially starting, FYI.
Okay.
Yeah, I have so much Jackson, it's just absurd. Devontae Graham, another one in that price range that you can take a stab at. Marcus Smart, another one you can take a stab at, especially.
When is Zion Williamson coming back at all or no?
Oh, we don't know.
What was the story with him?
We'll get into it another time.
Okay.
It's hard to know. I mean, he's out of shape. There's a lot of stuff going on.
So there's more stuff. It's not just an ACL or something.
I mean, the injury I think was worse, and I think he made it worse by not being in better shape.
Oh.
Please.
All right, so let's do one more.
There really be nobody I like here. All right, guys. I'm going to run. Good luck to everybody tonight. We'll see if Trey's playing. I do like him, Timothy, to answer that question.
According to the notes, it seems like he's going to play, but
I'm going to guess he does, but I'm not 100% on that. He did get downgraded during midday. So
Otto Porter is in apparently.
Otto Porter is in.
I'm just looking at my Discord. It says Porter in.
It definitely can't be Otto Porter. Kevin Porter.
You think it's Kevin Porter?
Yeah, because Otto Porter was already announced out.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, no, that's why Kuminga was the appealing play because it's
okay.
And what's his name again? All right. Good luck tonight, Sheets. Good luck, everybody. Sheets. I hope to see either one of us. Let's pull a Sheets or Sheets pull a Sheets. Somebody take.
Sheets pull Bobby. You never know.
All right, here we go. Let's do it. Good luck.
Let somebody win. Call whatever we want. All right. Should I do one more bill? May as well, right? I guess I'm going to get out of here. This is like a weird chaos theory where I think of either leaving my lineups alone or doing one more build. Like chaos theory being, ooh, it's that last build that got me the big W. I guess I have to kind of feel it, right? Let me see if it makes a difference. If it makes a big difference. It's really what I did. I just basically updated the projections by a tiny little bit. I want to see if the tiny little bit is going to make a difference. I'm just gonna build it and look at my lineups and see if they just look very at least similar. If they're at least similar, I'm not going to do it. If they're significantly different, then I'm going to swap them out. And then let's see what chaos theory does here. All right, so it looks Justin Holiday. No thanks. That was the key. So I could either play these lineups with Justin Holiday, or I could just X out Justin Holiday. I just don't play him. As best I can describe it. Yeah, it was getting me a little too much because he's starting. Okay. Yeah, these lineups look very, very similar. So I'm gonna leave this the way it was. Getting one bigger one with Jared Allen. That could be different. There's the Me Too. Oh, there's the Kevin Porter. I see. This is a little bit different. Should I use this? Caleb Martin. Andrew Wiggins. That could be a fun play. It's still a little different, right? And I get to play Nurkic in this build. Seth Curry, 5,300. Stephen Curry. Caleb Martin, I see it. I don't know what I want to do. You know what? I'm just going to leave it. You know what I could do? I don't know what I'm going to do. This is fancy. I'm basically just going to upload new lineups here. And if I don't have any dupes, I'm going to add those to, say, the lottery. That's what I'm going to do. So I built 20 lineups. I don't even know how many of them were the same as the ones I had. So DraftKings won't put like dupes in. So what I do is now I'm going to pull this up and see. Ooh, it's only a 20. All the big ones are taken. How about the new fadeaway? No, I can't do that. Crap. Oh, 60. Oh, it's 30 brand new lineups it gave me? Ay, ay, ay. I guess I better change them then. Oh, this is a brutal decision. All right, you know what? I'm never going to know anyway. So we're going to do that. I'm going to swap out all the lineups I had for lineups which I just made with a tiny little projection change. And the tiny little projection change gave me 30 completely different lineups, which is pretty sick. The thing is, I can't possibly, I'm not going to save the old ones because I won't be able to watch what happens. So let's do, yeah, so I'm going to be also a little bit more diversified. And what I mean is that I'm playing 30 lineups in the lottery, and I'm not like, so 30 lineups in the lottery. I'm not playing one lineup in every other one of these big ones too. Like I'm kind of spreading it out. Like I'm playing 3 lotteries in this, 2 lotteries in this, 3 lotteries in this. And now we are good. Should I even look? I'm not even gonna look and see what I have. I lied. I'm looking. Okay, fair enough. All right. Good luck, everybody. And oh wait, Trae Young is out. That's 637. All right. Let's do one other thing here. Don't have him in any. That's good. So what does that mean to the average man? It means you got to play these other guys, right? I'll do one more update here for Trey then. I'm actually not going to be able to do another update. Sorry about that, guys, because I got to get out of here in 5 minutes. You guys are just going to have to know not to play Trey. I didn't think I had any Trey anyway, but boy, oh boy, I'm pretty lazy, right? I should play these other guys. Trey is out. I did not say that Drummond is not a good play. I did not say that at all. So we're not playing Trey, obviously. So what, I got to play Bogdan? Is that the story here? It is quite annoying. I will have to take a look at it, I guess. But I don't have time. Just don't have time because I have to go. So if I win tonight, guys, it's literally because I got lucky, because this is a very, very lazy DFS play. But I have practice I have to get to. And that's just the way that has to be. I have enough time to update my Yahoo builds, and that's pretty much it. Sorry about this. Yahoo, I'm going to run these. I didn't think I had any Trey anyway, but like I said, same thing. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Let's take a quick look and see who pops, if anybody yet, in the Atlanta game. Delon Wright, I suppose. Goodness gracious. How good of a play is Delon Wright? Is he like one of the top plays now? Let me see. Yeah, he's up there. I guess I gotta do this. This sucks. So I'm just manually upgrading Delon Wright. Capella, Bogdan, DeAndre Hunter. You know all these guys. Where's Delon Wright? Where is Delon Wright? What's the problem here with? Oh wait, we wanna. There you go. Delon Wright. Okongwu, Lou Williams, give him a bump. And then we're just going to redo them, I guess, and see what happens. I'm probably going to get a bunch of it. So I asked Sam, I'm glad I'm doing this. So make sure you play all these guys from Atlanta. DeLon Wright, Herter, Collins. Guys, is craziness. Nonetheless, you got to do it. Just kind of hope that he doesn't get insane ownership because it's late news. Who am I kidding? DraftKings is done. Getting a whole bunch of DeLon Wright now. Sorry, I can't answer your question. I'm just kind of just doing my thing. I apologize. FanDuel, I'll just let you know what I'm doing here. FanDuel, I'm doing a build with the new projections, but I'm just manually upgrading the Hawks. Because I just don't have time. Let's go Hawks. Okay. Delon Wright's getting an enormous bump here. Even Lou Williams is playable. Well, I'm definitely going to win because of all this, because I'm cutting my other thing way too close here. Hope I can make it on time. I'm just never late, and it's so annoying when I'm even threatening to be late for something. But my quest for efficiency is getting in the way for my being on time accuracy. I think I should make it. Am I going to throw in the towel for Yahoo? Nope, can't do it. Got to do this. Yahoo. Save. Yes. And then Atlanta, we're going to go. Wait, we don't need that. Okay, 20 lineups. Delon Wright's going to be almost in all of them. It's kind of crazy, right? I was leaving, and as I was leaving, Delon Wright was not in a single one of my lineups. And now he's going to be in almost all of them, I think. NBA is very, very rough business. But I'm sure we're going to win. As a result, Plenty of time. Oop. Let me check out any news in the Discord before I get out of here. Let's see. Thanks, Timothy. Jolly asked now. Hawks, Jolly's Hawks. Okay.